Yo, what's going on guys? Arekkz here, welcome back to another Division 2 video, and today we're talking about skills. Yesterday, Ubisoft dropped a brand new intelligence annex, one of those blog posts where they detail a specific aspect of the game. Prior to this week, we've had those on the enemy factions, mods, weapons, things like that. But this week's focus was on skills, the skills we currently know about, but it dove slightly deeper into the way you can modify them and the different permutations for those skills. So in this video, I'm going to go over everything we currently know. So if you do enjoy this, then a like would be super appreciated. Comment down below if you have any questions. If you guys haven't entered our giveaway for the limited edition Super Smash Bros. Nintendo Switch, you can click that link in the description box down below to enter. And of course, if you don't want to miss any of our future Division content, then you can click that notification button to stay up to date. Now, to begin with, the skills we got a chance to take a look at in the Intelligence Annex include some of the new ones, the CHEM launcher, the drone, and also the hive, as well as the familiar skills, the turret, and the seeker mine. So starting off with the CHEM launcher, this is of course a kind of grenade launcher inspired weapon where it fires out these ampules of chemicals in an arc that kind of disperse into a cloud, and the cloud lingers and it causes unique effects depending on the mod that you choose. So when you have the CHEM launcher equipped, you can choose between 4 different charges. You have Firestarter, which is the one that I had a chance to use when I was at E3. For this one, the canister fires out flammable, near invisible gas, and the gas clouds can then be ignited with any spark. So you can fire your guns, you can throw grenades, enemies can fire their weapons, and this will then set it on fire and cause the whole area to ignite with flames. You can also then combine multiple clouds over a large area to essentially spread that. So you can then, basically activate it, fire them in a line, and then light the beginning of it, and it basically engulfs the entire area in flames, which is pretty cool. However, you also have Riot Foam, which you probably saw on the receiving end. The enemies were using some of this one. For this one, the skill will actually fire out Riot Foam that disperses on impact. And it's the exact same way that the enemies use it, in that once it activates, it can then trap enemies in this sticky foam that kind of heavily expand. Anyone that's affected by this is then stuck in place for a short period of time, and the hardened foam can then be destroyed, with guns and things like that to break free. Of course, the interesting thing about that one is thinking about how it'll actually factor in, say, PvP. I know we haven't had a great deal of information on things like the Dark Zone, but I imagine being able to sort of pin a player in one place they can't move could actually be rather interesting. On top of that, you have the OXIDIZER, where it fires a canister that emits a cloud of corrosive chemicals. The chemical will then linger for a long time, and it basically eats away at enemy armor and mechanical items. And you also have the Reinforcer, which fires a projectile that detonates and disperses an armor repairing cloud. If this basically hits you or your team, it then restores some of your armor, and any of that powder that sticks to the ground then grants restorative armor over time. So you can essentially, set it up as a location, maybe behind cover, then sit in it, and it can then restore your armor as you sit in it as a team. So within this launcher, you have some offensive options, some defensive options, and also some kind of crowd control options too. So it does seem to be pretty versatile. Moving on from there, you then have the drone, which is a really, really cool item. It's something that I have definitely wanted to kind of use a lot more in depth. Of course, the drone itself, once it deploys, it hovers around you, hovers around your shoulder, and it will then, depending on the way that you configure it, either defend you or assist you in combat. The first mod for this one is the Striker, as suggested by the name. This is the offensive drone. It's built for combat. The Striker possesses a turret that inflicts continuous damage upon its target, and the drone can then receive remote orders from its controller to attack specific targets. So if you don't necessarily want it to just follow you and act as your defender, you can send it somewhere to dish out the damage. However, on the flip side, you do have the Defender, which is a defensive drone that protects its owner by utilizing an experimental directed emitter. It deflects incoming bullets with microwave bursts, causing an invisible barrier. However, each bullet deflected does drain the battery, and it's incapable of defending itself from fire. But it can also be ordered to guard friends or other friendly skill items. So again, very similar manner, if you saw your kind of teammates were under fire, you could then send it over there, you could drop down a shield, and it'll essentially give you a chance to protect yourself from some incoming fire for a short period of time. The Tactician is built for intel. For this one, the drone flies to maximum elevation and it'll essentially allow you to spot hostiles in an area, effectively giving you their location. And while deployed, it'll essentially give you continuous information about the position of the enemies within your area. So this is a good chance, if you're flying or you're kind of working around different buildings, you don't necessarily know the area. Again, maybe if you're using this online, then this could basically give you some valuable intel. You have the Bombardier, which, pretty straightforward, allows your drone to basically do a bombing run. So it can then go over a target location and it can just drop bombs on the enemies, which is going to be pretty handy. Of course, large explosive damage. And finally, you have the Fixer. This is a defensive drone that repairs armor over time. So again, you can then choose whatever you want it to do. It can either fly next to you and repair your armor, or you can send it to a target location to repair armor for, say, like a friendly target. So again, similar manner, offensive, defensive, support options, depending on how you want to play. The Hive is of course a new item in the Division 2. It's a group of advanced micro drones that deliver special effects to their targets. You either place the Hive down on the floor, or you throw it, and it then affects the targets within the radius. Very similar to the other ones, while most of this is of course for defensive measures, there are also some alternative playstyles. You have the Stinger, where the micro drones, this will be the one that you've seen already, they will then swarm on a target within their range, they inflict damage, and they target specifically the weak spots on the enemies and then kind of destroy them more efficiently. So this is good, of course, if you want to break down armor or kind of hit, say, like a tank on the back of an enemy. It's a good way to target things like that. You have the Restorer, which will detect missing armor on a friendly agent in its range, and it will deploy micro drones towards the agent, and on impact, a certain amount of armor is then repaired. The Booster sends out one micro drone per friendly player that then administers stimulants to increase combat efficiency, boosting weapon handling, movement, and other physical capabilities of the agent. And the Reviver, when deployed, can actually revive allies that are downed within a specific radius of the ground. If any of the downed allies are within the range of the Reviver Hive, then you can manually order a set of micro drones to revive them. However, you can also press and hold the button to charge up the micro drones. The longer you hold the button, the more health and armor your ally revives with. So essentially, it can either be used very quickly in combat to quickly get someone up, or if you do have a bit more breathing space, then you can use it to kind of bring them back with more health. So definitely pretty handy. And of course, what you can kind of see from these ones is that they all tend to have like a support option that typically targets kind of health or armor. And of course, they also have their offensive options, again, based on the way you want to play. The Seeker Mine, we're of course very familiar with this from Division 1. You place it on the ground, it rolls towards the enemies. But in this one, you have a few different options. You have Explosive, which is the classic Seeker Mine. It just goes towards the enemy, and of course it explodes and causes a staggering explosion. However, it can also be avoided since there is a slight aiming time before it explodes. The AIRBURST mod is of course the one where the mine rolls to the designated area and then launches an explosive burst into the air at around head height of the enemy, and then of course it explodes. The Mender Seeker Mine will be similar to the Reinforcer Chem Launcher. This is a friendly Seeker Mine that then releases repair chemicals. So for these ones, the Seeker Mine can then repair either your armor or your allies' armor. And if you haven't chosen a specific target for the Mender Seeker Mine, allies that lose all their armor are automatically targeted by the mine. This is also called out as the specialist skill for the Survivor specialization. Remember that one of the things they said at E3 was that some of the skills will have mods associated with particular specializations, so this is definitely one of those ones that if you're playing Survivalist, this will of course be available to you. And then on top of that, you also have the cluster version, which of course contains a number of smaller charges in one package. So again, Seeker Mine seeks out its target, goes to the location, explodes, and then explodes into a cluster of smaller explosions, which can of course deal a good degree of damage over a small area. And then finally, of course, we have the turret. Familiar with this one from Division 1. This one, of course, you place it down depending on the mod. It can, of course, shoot targets with the chosen ammo type. So you have the default one, which is, of course, Assault, which is similar to the Strike Drone. This one is designed as your offensive option. This is equipped with a machine gun and, of course, 360-degree rotation. You place it down, and it will, of course, attack the closest target whilst you're in combat. And outside of combat, you can designate your turret's targets. You have the Incinerator, which is basically your flame turret. If you enjoy crowd control, this is basically the skill for you. It's equipped with an incendiary tank, and the incinerator ignites fuel and fires it in a cone to deal area of effect damage. This can also be toggled on and off when deployed. Artillery is a specialized deployable that launches exploding ordnances at locations of your choice, firing once per press. Shells are launched in an arc at a target position, and this is a specialist skill for the demolitionist. So again, much like I said earlier, some of these skills will have additional options based on your specialization. And then finally, you have the Sniper. This is a long-range turret. As you'd expect, it's semi-automatic, and the turret can target the same enemies that you are engaging. While there is a slight delay on the actual target acquisition, the Sniper can also adjust its aim to match your own aim on the target. So this is pretty good. You know, in the kind of past, if you drop down your turret and the enemies aren't too nearby, it tends to sort of sit there waiting to kick in, whereas this time you can actually use it from a much more effective range. So all up, definitely some pretty cool options. The interesting thing is seeing how the specializations bring more to the table. You know, you don't just have the same skills that everyone else does. Based on the specialization you choose, you actually unlock a few more options. So if there is a particular skill you really like, you might end up gravitating towards a particular specialization if you know it has a particular option for that skill. So there you have it. That's a quick rundown of some of the available skills and of course the ways that you can modify them. Do keep in mind, as mentioned, this is not all of the skills. Thylander said on Twitter, this is just a selection of them. It's kind of based on the ones that we know about so far, but there will be more skills in the final game. So there's still plenty more we have to discover. But for the time being, that is a quick rundown. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that. Be sure to keep it locked for plenty more Division coverage. Thanks very much for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to check out some more awesome stuff from us here at Arekkz Gaming, then you should definitely try to catch TwoSixNine and Paradise Central streaming 6 days a week. You can find a link to the multi-stream in the description box down below. They play a wide range of games, and what's more, we also have the end game store. By watching their streams, you earn currency, and you can redeem that currency on the endgame store for really cool prizes. Those can range from things like games, comics, and figures, all the way up to controllers, capture cards, and even consoles. So definitely drop by and become part of the community. Of course, if you enjoyed this video, then make sure you're subscribed and be sure to click on that little bell icon to turn on notifications so you don't miss our next upload. You can watch more videos by clicking on the options here, but once again, thanks very much for watching, take it easy, catch you next time, peace out.